Hey everyone, welcome back to bageltcg. Today we're going to be doing a deck tech video for Bolton. We're going to do a Blitz in Classic Constructed because it's going to be pretty similar for both. We're going to be going off of the official Precon that LSS provided and then talking about some upgrades. So the main thing that you have to remember is Bolton is a very aggressive hero. You're going to be trying to just pack in as much damage as you can, not super interested in blocking, really just trying to put the pressure on as much as possible. Um, the main issue with the Precon is that his weapons that it comes with, his hatchets of body and mind, are not very powerful. It's it's a resource piece, so 2 resources. It's just really not what you want. The Spellfray Cloak is also pretty weak, while the rest of the equipment is good, and you'll keep playing that. But the Spellfray Cloak is not great. And then some of the cards in the deck just aren't exactly what you want to be playing. These push forwards, Path Pilgrimage, the Illuminates, Mentors aren't very strong. They take a little too much setup. Seek Enlightenments, Invigorating Light. So a few of these things you're going to be cutting, adding some of his nice Majestics and some copies of other cards that are great. But it's going to be about $20 to upgrade this to the competitive Blitz deck. But really 20 bucks, it's not that much, and it's going to make the deck a lot more competitive. So this is the official list. I'll have this in the comments if you want to see the official list that LSS has for the Precon Blitz deck. But we're going to move on to what cards we're going to be adding in. So we're going to be adding in this Raiden as his weapon. It's his Majestic. All of his Majestics are pretty cheap that we're going to be playing. I don't think any of them are more than $3 or $4 a piece. This one's probably like $3.50 right now. It's his weapon. It swings for 0 normally, but if you charged, it swings for 3, gets +3, and it only costs 0 to attack with, right? So very powerful to chain in at the end of at lines because it doesn't have go again. So it's nice to chain in at the end, but if you want to put it in the middle, his ability, his attack reaction, can give it go again because that +3 from it being charged is higher than its base of 0, right? So that's good. We're also going to add in a copy of Nullrune Gloves, Hood, and Robe. We're not having the boots because you only ever really need 3. Probably don't even need all 3. You might only need 2 because we don't really run any blues to pitch anyways. But we want to keep our Snapdragon Scalers. So yeah, we're running the 3 here. Probably not going to bring it in against anything other than Wizard. And then even then we're trying to be pretty aggro against them. And then for the chest, like I said, Spellfray Cloak is not great. So against non-arcane damage heroes, we're going to be running Best of the First Fist. There's not a lot of great budget options for chest with Bolton, so this is basically all we got. Usually he's going to want to be on Fandel Spring Tunic, but that's a legendary. It's a little over $100, so we're going to be playing this card. When an attack action you control hits, you can destroy it and gain 2 resources. So if you're trying to do a really big turn, you can hit with something, pop it, and just swing in for a lot more, right? 2 free resources is a lot. That's a whole card in this deck, considering most of our cards pitch for 2 because we're an aggressive deck. That's pretty much a whole card worth of value, so it's great. We're adding in the second red copy of Battlefield Blitz in both yellows. Great card. It has go again if you charge, swings for a lot, right? Illuminate is a 0 cost that hits for 4. There's not a lot of ways to give it go again, so you're going to want to put this at the end of a chain. For example, like when I was talking about, you can give Raiden go again with Bolton, so you could swing with Raiden, give it go again, and then illuminate the end. It's a 0 cost for 4. If it hits, it puts it in your soul. Importantly, that doesn't count as charge. Charging is only when a card says to charge. So, it's like Take Flight here. It says to charge your soul. This doesn't charge, it just puts it in, but that's still extra gas to give stuff go again later on with Bolton. Yeah. I should say, actually, you can give it go again if they block with an attack action, because if you've charged, Bolton will give your attacks +1 if they defend with an attack action. This is your biggest swing in your deck. We're adding a second red copy of Valiant Thrust, 2 yellows. If you've charged, it gets +3. So the yellows are 1 for 6, and the reds are a 1 for 7. It's just a huge swing. Able to give it go again off of Bolton because it's at higher than its base. But I mean, 1 for 7 is one of the best rates in the game. So Valiant Thrust, really good card. We want all the high damage versions of it. Running his Majestic attack reaction, Beacon of Victory. Cost 0. As an additional cost, you can banish X cards from your soul. X can't be 0. The attack gets +X, and then if you charge, you search for your deck for an attack action or not an attack action, I should say, an action card with cost extra less, reveal it, put it into your hand. Usually that action you're going to be searching for, because I think it might be one of our only actions in the deck, is Lumina Ascension, which costs 0. So all you need to do is banish one card from Soul. You can banish more if you want to with Beacon of Victory, but usually it's going to be banishing one card from Soul to find this Lumina Ascension here. So it's basically 2 extra copies of Lumina Ascension, which is the best card in our deck. 2 Bolt of Courage yellow. We already run the reds. The yellows are just as good. Same thing with Engulfing Light over here. We already run the reds. We're putting in the yellows. Bolting Blade is another one of his Majestics. It's a 4 cost for 7, which is really bad, but it costs 2 less for each time you've charged. So if you charge twice, it's a 0 cost for 7, which is really good. Luminous Ascension is his specialization, one of 2. We're running both. It's gonna be when you play it, it's 0. It's an action with go again. Until end of turn, your weapons get +1, and if it hits, you reveal top card of your deck. If it's a light card, put it into your soul, gain 1 life, otherwise put it on the bottom. And if you've charged, you can swing an additional time with your weapon. So it just lets you swing with Raiden twice. You play it for 0. Your weapon, you want to charge first, obviously, to get that second effect. So you'll charge, then you will play Lumina for 0. Then you're going to swing in for 4 with Raiden, and then another 4, because it'll be able to swing twice. And you might be able to charge your soul twice too with its top effect. So gain 2 life, swing for 8 for 0. The fact that Raiden costs 0 here is really great with this, because you're not using any resources for that whole combo. This is 0, that's 0. All it takes is charging beforehand and some extra stuff in your soul to go off. Second copy of Via the Vanguard. There's already one in the deck. This card's really good. You can pay, as an additional cost, you can charge your soul any number of times, and then attacks you control get +1 for each light card charged that way. And I believe the whole deck is light cards. So this one costs 1, and it's an attack for 3. It'll get the bonus itself. So if you pitch a card to play it, and then you charge the other 2, it's going to be swinging for 5. You can give it go again by banishing one of your cards with Bolton, and then you can swing for Raiden for 5 also, which is a nice 10 swing. And if you have a card in Arsenal, you can do another swing. Great card. And we want the second copy. And then lastly, we're adding 2 Blues of Take Flight. This is probably the best charge card in the deck, and we already run the yellows and the reds. We want the blues. I think it's the only blues we're running in the whole deck, because your deck costs, I don't think any card costs more than 1, except for these bolting blades that you want to cost 0. So nothing costs more than 1, so you really only ever need to pitch a yellow. These will just be your blues, because this card's good enough that you'll find playing it for just 2 damage, because it has go again on its own, which is nice because it lets you keep extra stuff in your soul for Bolton for later, because you can be pretty hungry to have stuff in your soul. So the fact that this charges and doesn't waste a card to get go again is really nice. So that's all the cards that we're adding. This is what the deck's going to look like after you add everything in. Oh, apologies, that is not the right one. This is the Blitz one for everything that's going to look like after you add everything in, right? So all the copies of Take Flight, all the good red and yellows for all the key cards, Express Lightning, Bolt of Courage, Battlefield Blitz, Valiant Thrust, Engulfing Light, all the key cards we want all the 2 copies of red and yellow for, 2 Illuminates, and then all his Majestics and Rares right here for his specialization, and then his Majestics. We're adding in the Null Rune for Wizard. These cards are like a quarter a piece. Switching out the Spellfray Cloak for Vest of the First Fist, and making our weapon good. And then this is what I was going to show, is the Classic Constructed deck, right? So if you're interested in playing Classic Constructed, basically we're just adding in a 3rd copy of most stuff, right? So 3 of each instead of 2 of each for pretty much everything here. And that won't quite bring you to the 80 full cards. So we're adding in a few extra cards for when you want to be a little more defensive. So like I said, 3 copies of each of what we were doing before. Obviously this one's not just a $20 straight upgrade. It's a little more because you need a 3rd copy of everything. So I don't know, maybe $40 to upgrade to Classic Constructed, assuming we're getting 1 more copy of everything. I'm not exactly sure. The other cards we are adding are these 3 Sink Belows, these 6 Steel Blade Shunts. These are going to be for when you're playing against another deck that's really aggressive. You know, for example, maybe the mirror matchup. And you want to be able to block better, right? So Sink Blow is a classic. Red, 0 cost, blocks for 4, and lets you filter your hand by putting a card on the bottom and drawing a card, right? Steel Blade Shunt cost 1, but it blocks for a lot, so it'll block for 5 on the yellows and 6 on the reds. And when you if you defend a weapon with it, it deals 1 to them. So against stuff like Dorinthia or other Boltons where their weapon's really important, or stuff like Guardian, there's plenty of heroes that really rely on their weapon to do pretty big consistent damage. Not only does this block it pretty well, but it'll also deal damage. But don't worry about, you don't have to only use this on weapon attacks. If they're swinging for a big attack for 6, you can block with the Steel Blade Shunt here and not feel bad about it. And then for heroes, basically just for Chain and for Levia as well, you're playing these 3 impenetrable beliefs. Chain's the boogeyman of the format. Levia also has some legs to her. And if 3 or more cards have been put into an opposing hero's banish zone this turn, it gets +2 while defending. So it's just going to be a normal defend. It's not a defense reaction or anything, but it'll go from 2 block, which is a little below average, to 4 block, which is pretty nice. Against Chain, it's a free block. It's like exactly what you want, really. Those are the only heroes you're going to put it against, because it's the only heroes that use their banish zone enough to have 3 in there. And if you're not defending with it for 4, it's a blue to pitch for resources. So yeah, that's the constructed deck. Just some increasing numbers and some defensive options, really. That's how you're going to play Bolton. A lot of aggro, a lot of, you're going to just be swinging for as much as you can every turn. You're going to draw a hand here. That's the classic constructed deck. Sorry, there's so many. And your hand's usually just going to look like just this, a bunch of damage. You're going to be charging a card. You're going to be swinging. For example, let's see. We're going to want to, this hand, maybe we'll pitch a card via the Vanguard, because it costs 1, so we'll pitch one of these for 1 via the Vanguard, charge the other 2. So, we're playing this, pitching Valiant Thrust because we want it later, putting both of these in our soul. This will be swinging for 5. Give it go again by banishing one of these from our soul, and then swing right in for 5, right? That's one way. We also have a hand like this. This hand has some nice gas to it. We're not going to be able to charge twice this turn. As you can see, we only have 1 charge card, so maybe we'll pitch this Bolting Blade for 2. Don't feel bad about pitching this. It's a nice yellow. And then we will, I guess we will Bolt of Courage here to swing for 3. Charge this Courageous Steel hand. Opponents will usually want to block this, because if it hits, they'll draw a card. So they'll block, and we will give it go again with Bolton. And then we'll swing with our Battlefield Blitz here for 5 with go again. And then we'll swing with our Raiden weapon. So lots of going aggro using all our cards. We're not going to want to block very much, if at all. The only time you want to block is if they have really good on-hit effects themselves that you want to prevent. So for example, like if they were swinging with a Bolt of Courage red, and you have a way to block it, and you can, it's good. Them drawing a card can be pretty deadly. So definitely going to be going full aggro as much as possible. If you have any questions, please don't be afraid to leave them in the comments. I will have all of these decks linked. So the Blitz deck, the original deck that LSS puts out in the pre-constructed, we're going to have the upgrades, and we're going to have the classic constructed list. Any questions, put them in the comments. Like I said, I'll be making some videos about what to get for Tales of Aria soon, what cards to pick up before this new set comes out. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.